Hey everyone, let's talk about ECEE. The ECEE Alg set, or edge, corner, edge, edge, Alg set, and the concepts behind it were the original inspiration I had when starting to work on this method. The most common issue cited when people talk about how inefficient 2x2 reduction methods are is how restricted the move set becomes when solving this way. I personally find that to be a silly argument, and really you could say the same thing about any method for any cube if you were to try to solve it intuitively. So the first thing I set out to do was to make an Alg set to remove that issue, and that is where the idea for ECEE came from. So let me talk about the concepts behind ECEE. Now, I'm not going to go into any actual Alg executions in this video. I'm not going to show them in the video because, as I've said before, I have not been solving with this method for many months now. So my executions are really no better than anyone else's would be. So I don't really have any execution tips to provide. Just do the best you can with the Algs themselves. And if you can find better Algs to use them. Just note the restrictions that come with an ECEE Alg, which I'll go into later in this video. So as I've said, the main concept behind ECEE is that you pair up an edge with its corner and you put it here in the top layer on the front left corner with the edge below the solved corner. And then you have the other two edges that would not be solved in this situation, and you would place those two edges in either this corner here or this corner here, I guess around one of these two corners in these 2x2x2 sections. And then based on where those pieces are, when you place them, you can place them wherever you want in those two sections, as long as they're there. And based on the relationship that those two have with each other, that's how you know what Alg set to use, or what Alg in the set to use. There are 30 cases that you can run into, and I'll go into those in just a minute here. But there's also 3 special cases you can run into. So if you're solving, say, this pair right here, or this corner right here, and you've paired up this one here, this edge here, if one of these two edges is just switched to the other side, and that flips either direction. So if this one is here, or if this one is here, or if they're both flipped. Those are the 3 special cases that you'll run into. I have Algs for that listed in the description below, so be sure to check that. It's really just one Alg used and mirrored from itself, basically, for the 2 that are flipped, and then a separate one to use if both of them are flipped. So those will be in the description below. So an ECEE Alg has a few restrictions that it has to abide to be considered an ECEE algorithm. So as I said, the pieces that are actually for the solved corner, or the corner that you are solving, will be in this 2x2x2 section, which is where the corner itself will be. They'll be in this 2x2x2 section, and they'll be in this 2x2x2 section. This one and the entire bottom layer will not house any of the edge pieces or corner pieces that you're actually using to solve at this time. So in order for an Alg to be an ECEE Alg, it has to preserve the edge and corner relationship of all 5 of these corner sections here. So all these 2x2x2 sections in the bottom, and this 2x2x2 section right here. All of the relationships have to be preserved there. The corners themselves don't have to be left in the same spot, so they can move where they are, but the relationships must remain the same so that you can put your solved corners there as you're continuing to go through the first 6 corners. So that's the major restriction with ECEE. So if you want to make your own, that's awesome. Just make sure that it abides by that rule in order for it to be an ECEE algorithm. So let's talk about the ECEE cases themselves. As I said, there are 30 ECEE Algs, or excuse me, 30 ECEE cases. I don't have Algs for all of them. I have Algs for the first 15 because that's all that I ever got around to making, and it's all that I used for my solves. And frankly, I don't even consider the second half of the ECEE Algs to be necessary, which is why I never really worked on them. I'll get into that in just a minute here. So an ECEE case is defined, as I said, on the relationship between these 2 edge pieces here. Let's consider this to be our solving corner right here. So it's defined on the relationship between where these 2 edges actually are. So I number these edges. I call this one here edge 1, the one that's on the left face. I consider that edge 1, and I consider the one that goes here to be edge 2. So the one that goes here is edge 1, the one that goes here is edge 2. Now, when as I said, the edge pieces need to be in this 2x2x2 section or this 2x2x2 section. So each edge has 6 possible locations that it can be: position 1, position 2, position 3, 4, 5, or 6. So it could be in any of those 6 locations. So the first edge can be in any of those 6 locations. The second edge can be in any of the remaining 5 locations, which is where we get the 6 groups of 5 Algs, or 5 cases, right? So if edge piece 1 is right here, it's in position 1. Edge piece 2 can be in either positions 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6. So there's 5 cases in the group 1 Alg set, if that makes sense. And these are all listed down below. And then case 6 would start the second group. So with edge piece 2 being right here, then edge piece 1 being in position 2, then edge piece 2 can be in either positions 1, 3, 4, 5, or 6. So that would be case 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then continuing on with that method, group 3 starts with case 11, where edge piece 1 would be in position 3, and then edge piece 2 can be in either positions 1, 2, 4, 5, or 6, and that's your different cases. So you'd have case 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15. And now that's the first half of the Alg set. The other half continues the exact same pattern over here with group 4 being with edge piece 1 starting here, and group 5 being with it here, and group 6 being with it here. Now, as I said, I don't really consider those to be necessary algorithms. There's only a very few cases where they would actually help, which is when you basically have one of these 15 cases set up already, and if you don't know that algorithm, you have to break that apart and then set up one of your first 15 algs that you already know. So that's a really rare situation to run into. I ran into it very rarely when I was solving with this, 100 times a day or something like that. So yeah, I still don't consider them to be very necessary, but that is the complete Alg set. Now, you can break up ECEE into the 6 groups or into different groups of based on where that first one is. So the recommendation I have is to start by learning the first 5 algorithms, which is when edge piece 1 is here, edge piece 2 is here for case 1, case 2, case 3, case 4, and case 5. So learn those 5 algorithms, and then when you're going to do your solves, you just make sure that you put edge piece 1 here, and then put edge piece 2 either here if it's not in one of these two, or if it's not in one of these two, put it here, and then you have a case that you know. And that'll allow you to start using ECEE in your solves, which is a great step. And then once you get more comfortable with those, you can then learn the next 2 sets for when the first edge is in the second and third positions here. And then that adds a lot of degree of freedom there, because then all you have to do is find that first edge piece and then put it here somewhere. It doesn't have to go specifically right here. So it can be a lot easier to get that where it needs to be. And then again, obviously put, if the second edge piece isn't already in this corner here, put it here. And now, one thing I should note, if both edge pieces are in this corner here, this corner, regardless of what's in here, will get scrambled. So make sure that you have an unsolved corner set up right here. So that's just a note there for those cases where both edge pieces are in this, are surrounding the same corner. So as I said in the first video, ECEE Algs are a bit longer than they seem like they need to be, but that's because of the amount of the cube that they have to be designed to preserve. So I don't really recommend using the ECEE Algs for the first 2 or 3 corners. As I said, my recommended method is to memorize the steps to solve the first 2 corners just intuitively with slice moves or however you can do it as efficiently as possible, because you're very that's when the cube is the least restricted on the movements you can use, and it's very easy to keep track of where your solved corner is and not scramble it up. So that's my recommendation, is to intuitively solve the first 2 corners just like you would with the cross and CFOP, and then start using ECEE for the next 4 corners to complete the first 6 corners. So that's going to be it for this video here. Again, as I said, I'm not going to do any execution examples in this video here. I'll have all the algs listed in the description below, and as I said, my executions are not very good right now because I haven't been practicing, but all the algs are there, so you can check them there. If you have any questions on the executions that I use, you can try and ask them in the comments below. If I remember, or if I can, give any examples, I will try my best, but don't count on it. But feel free to ask if you want to. But anyway, guys, that's going to be it for this video here. If you have further questions, like I said, leave those in the comments below. And if you're curious about the rest of the method or the other steps of the method, I'll have links to all the other videos that I'm making on this method in the description below, so be sure to check those out. And yeah, let me know if you have any questions. Let me know if you start using the method, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.